Hello,
What,
hello.
what was that music?
They've
That's not the
changed the
normal
music. I
intro
know.
music.
It's not the music I love and know.
It's
It's
like
like
I can't do my da 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 thing anymore. So
we're
because
gonna
it's
have
got
to
changed the music.
we're gonna have to fix it. We're gonna have to fix it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just a stock track that you're pulling from somewhere, right? So
Yeah. Oh, hang on a minute, hang on a
anyway,
minute. Scott,
oh
where are you, Scott? Come on, man.
Right here.
yeah, put Scott in the real position there.
Yeah. So pole position, right? There you go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, your pole position technically, but yes. Okay.
I guess so. Let me grab these. I am so prepared. There we go.
Yes. Yes.
Um, I guess Scott. Yes, please go ahead,
Yeah.
Scott.
Be nice, be constructive, be respectful. This is not Reddit. Don't post anything that's adult, rude, or offensive. Don't advertise or promote anything. We all know you need a job. Do not spam the same question again and again. We have a list. You go to the bottom of the list every time you ask. So if you want to make sure you don't get your question answered until the end, keep asking it. Harassment of any kind is not tolerated. Failing this, you'll be blocked from here and we'll pass your name around to everybody else. You'll be blocked from their things too. And remember, have a good time.
Indeed, have a good time.
Yeah.
If you do post links, we won't get them in the chat. So just be aware. The whole chat message doesn't come, not just the link, the whole chat message. So if you do want to post some code or some snippets or something for us to review, go to gist.new in your browser. That'll take you to GitHub's Gist page where you can post your code, name the file, whatever .dart, and it will format it, highlight it, put whatever comments you want in there, and we can review that stream. And what you need to do is post the hash. That is the long hexadecimal number in the URL after you post it on GitHub into the chat, and then we can look it up from that. Anyway, that's the sort of go-to thing that we do. I guess with the introductions, my name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter Community Leader, Tito at Dev Angels London. At Dev Angels London, you'll find me on Twitter and other social medias. Scott, it's funny to say, Scott, come on.
My name is Scott Shaw. I am also a Flutter Community Leader and organizer of GDG Cleveland. And
Randall.
Oh, that was fast. I was waiting for a much longer explanation there. I'm Randall Schwartz. I am a Google developer expert, as you can see by my shoulder here, and this wonderful word Flutter here. So I'm a Flutter developer expert. What that means is for the last 6 years, I've spent plenty of time answering people's questions online and presenting at various GDGs around the world, virtually, typically. And I also am the question magician for this show, which means that I am monitoring the live chat and looking for your statements that are preceded by a Q colon. That lets me know that it's a question for us as the panel, rather than just you all talking amongst yourselves, which you do from time to time. So I flag those so that we can see those in the order that they are noticed. But again, as we already mentioned, if you say the same question twice, I take you off the beginning and put you down at the end. So don't do that. You're just wasting time.
Well, let's get on the stream and then we'll talk about it. Right. Danielle, hey, welcome.
Hey, everybody. I'm Danielle Cox. I'm one of the organizers of the Flutteristas, which is a international group of women and non-binary Flutter enthusiasts. So if you want to join that and you qualify, then let me know, and I'll make sure you get in. And otherwise, I also lead a small team of Flutter engineers at a company called Early. So, shout out and thank you to my company for letting me come on here pretty much every week. And anyway, that's me.
And we also have a Raf. Raf, welcome to the stream. Let's get you bigger. There you go.
Hello, I see full house today, finally. Yeah, so hi, I'm Raf. I'm Flutter developer, and after my hours of work, I'm doing Flutter community stuff when I can. So please don't pick me so much.
I think it's one of those things. I think everyone right now is in that position of just super hard work, and then it's like wherever you try and do for the community, it's got to be in your free hours because you can't just don't have the time. It's not like work's part time. It works full on, and then you got full on community stuff as well. So thank you for being here, Raf. I know it's late for you as well, so really do appreciate it.
Yes,
my pleasure.
So just for those that don't know, for the format of the show, this is an open question and answers, like an ask me anything kind of deal. We do try and revolve it around Dart and Flutter and mobile development, but development in general is kind of also applied here. We'll try and comment. If we can't comment, we'll let you know. We have no idea. but we have some very skilled people on the call, as you can tell, so we can help answer all your questions, hopefully. So yeah, put Q in front of it, and we'll get to it in due course. What's everyone been up to? Anything interesting?
Mardi Gras. That
Mardi
was
Gras?
great. Fat Tuesday yesterday.
Oh, that's why the New Orleans stuff. Okay, we were talking backstage, and
Yeah.
but I wasn't realizing why. Of course, duh, Mardi Gras.
Yeah, right. So that's the one that I sang 6 karaoke songs last night. I was up until very late, so I'm a little bleary-eyed this morning. So because I'm on the Pacific Coast or the West Coast of the U.S., so this is only 9 a.m. for me, and that's pretty early after being up all night for
Every night for you, Randall, is a karaoke night, right?
No. There are some nights when I don't actually sing. It's pretty rare.
Only some.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Well, anyone else want to add to what they've been up to?
I'm this is behind the scenes stuff, but I've been kind of planning out and scripting out the relaunch of my Flutterfly YouTube channel. So hopefully we'll see some.
That'd be cool.
I have a book. I got this in the mail a couple days ago. It's from our friend Kevin Moore, who's maybe even in the chat today.
Oh, the other Kevin Moore.
Yeah,
the other Kevin Moore. Our Kevin Moore.
What's the team Kevin Moore? The community Kevin Moore.
Yeah.
Yes, right. And my name's mentioned in there. In fact, there's a huge bio, and I forgot that I wrote a bio using Gemini, and so it's this huge flowery description of things that I think I've done. I don't remember.
You've done.
I fed my
intro for this show.
Yeah, similar, right? I fed my LinkedIn into Gemini and said, write a bio about this. it put a bunch of stuff in there that I wouldn't have put in a bio, but that's fine. I said, that's close enough, and shipped it. So I have a 4-paragraph bio.
You just mentioned new books. I actually picked up these 2 interesting books: System Design Interview Volume 1 and Volume 2. So there's a couple of systems architects from the business that have been around in a few big companies, and it just talks about designing larger sort of cloud systems, basically. So like designing your own key value store, unique ID URL shortener, web crawler, news chat system, YouTube, how you design your own YouTube, for example. And there were cool experiments to help you express the ideas about how you use all these cloud components to build things. It's quite interesting stuff. And then there's an even bigger volume 2, which they decided to tome up. And this one is even bigger, like how you build like a Google Maps service, or like Google Maps itself, hotel reservation system, S3 bucket storage, payment system, all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah,
wow.
If anyone's interested in that kind of level of programming and development, then I highly recommend these 2 books. Very interesting.
Now we've talked in the past about how technical books a lot of times are better in print than they are, like on Kindle or something. Are these books technical enough to be that way, or would you say those would be okay to be left out?
It's kind of interesting, right? I'm old school. I like a good book. To be honest, I think I've just programmed myself to read books in this fashion. I've tried to do ebooks, like technical books, online, and I like the Intel reference manuals. They're great online because they're just reference manuals, right? Like you can look up you can search for a particular thing, read up the paragraphs around what that thing is. That's great. That's what I use like a PDF for. But when you kind of got like a story or something else, this kind of thing is more about like taking you through a journey, if that makes sense. So like there's a lot of diagrams around like how you sort of lay out a system or how you build something. And for this, it's kind of, I think it's really good to understand like the sort of flow of it. Like, I don't know, each to their own, I guess. Really doesn't make that much difference.
That's why I figured I'd ask.
Yeah.
I know that I no longer have a bookcase of any kind because I've had to downsize going from location to location, basically giving away huge stacks. As an O'Reilly author, I was getting comp copies of everything O'Reilly was publishing during the 2000s and the late 1990s. So you can imagine what kind of a bookcase that would be.
You know what you should. Sorry, I'm just imagining that if there was a kid in your local area that maybe went to like the secondhand store who was interested in programming and just got the entire O'Reilly collection of the 2000s, that would have been
could. What I did is I donated it to the local Free Geek place, which is a place that takes equipment and puts Linux on it for people. So that became their bookshelf. So that was nice.
So I
Gave
did the
them the
same thing.
bookshelf as well too. So it was nice. Yeah.
We have a London hackerspace, and they had a library there for anyone that comes along. And I just had a bunch of like old materials and books. I was like, okay, no room for these. There you go. People can borrow them if they want to. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We
I
did
think
have a
I've got-
question that's related to that. You might want to answer this one, Simon. Any other fun books there that you want to talk about?
Too many.
Too
Not
many.
enough. That literally, I've crammed books horizontally now because there's no room anymore. Room in the book. I need bigger bookshelves. I don't know if I'd say I've got particular. I think the one I always go to, if anyone's actually interested, I guess I would say would be.
People are interested. They're crazy. Remember?
Oh. The
That's
original
heavy.
copy of this, I bought I think it was the second edition. It was quite early on, maybe the first edition. The original edition of this, I bought, and it was 150 or 60 pound, I think it was. So it's not cheap. You can get secondhand copies of this. I got a secondhand copy the other day for someone else for £2. So pick your time. But Computer Organization and Architecture by Linda Null. And the original copy was by two authors, Linda Null and Julia Labor. And that's a book I would recommend if you're interested in such things. So let's get rid of that. There you go. But this kind of goes through what's the best way of putting it? What computers are and how they work from the ground up, as well as basically, if you read this book, you would have a really good fundamental foundation understanding of computing across the entire board. But it's more about, the actual computer system and architecture, right? So it goes through networking of things, but it's not going to be one specific area, right? So you get good overall knowledge. So if you think that you might be missing a bit of knowledge in one area, that's a good book to read. Anyone else got books they want to share?
Sorry, I was just laughing at the chat room.
The book I read recently wasn't at all technical, so it was like more of a management book. So, I know.
Don't go to management. Don't do it. No, I'm joking.
My CEO does a book club with me, just me. So we pick a book out and we read it.
I think another interesting book. I another book around programming. You just made me think of this. Dreaming in Code. I think have any of you guys had that one?
No.
Highly recommend that one. That's a really good book as well. Dreaming in Code. It's on Audible as well if you want it in audio format as well.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, actually, no, I know that. Yeah, I mean, for us, right? Actually, no, it's really interesting. It's really interesting. I've got to get the full title. Now you've said that, I've got to get the full title because it's actually kind of.
Oh no.
Esra's recommended a book in the comments and chat.
The full title. The full title is. That's the one. That's the one. The full title of this other book, though, I'm going to put into the chat because you won't believe the full title. It is Dreaming in Code: 24 programmers, 3 years, 4,732 bugs, and one quest for transcendent software.
Wow.
I do like. I'll pop that in the chat for anyone that wants the full title.
Nice.
I've listened to a few books where they go around like the behind the scenes stories on like making games at big game companies and stuff like that. What went on, what went right, what went wrong, and I don't know, everything in between. And yeah, it's quite interesting to hear the good and bad things actually that go on. And Dreaming in Code is kind of that, but for apps, basically. It's more about application development and that side of it. But yeah. All right.
There was a book called The Soul of the New Machine that sort of covered that sort of background history of how one of the digital general processors was created. And I was working for a company for a while that my boss told me that one of our senior bosses was the guy mentioned in Soul of the New Machine on the failed project. Okay. That's who we're working for now, the guy that failed in that book. All right. Anyway.
So, shall we get to questions?
We can do that. Wait, Scott
Randall,
should be the one to decide. I'm out of here.
Actually, because Scott doesn't have his admin privileges at the moment still,
Yep.
and you're going to have to do the controlling, Randall. So we're all going to be on stream this week. So congratulations.
Yep. I can read the questions. I just can't take them out of the queue.
Why is he not able to log in?
It's the way StreamYard logged me in.
It was timing not considered. So anyway, there's the first one on the list.
I already answered that in the chat, which is use Puro. Stay away from FVM.
What, Randall? What was the answer?
Puro. Use instead of FVM.
Puro, yeah.
So I've got FVM on a few projects that we've been doing, and I think it's great. But equally, Puro is kind of like the upgraded version. Apparently, it's meant to be really good. I have not tried it yet. I do want to try it. So I'm going to say use Puro and tell me what you think.
Yeah, let me give you the elevator pitch for Puro, which is that instead of what FVM does, which is for every new release, it downloads the whole new release, puts it in a separate directory, but does manage to repoint things so they point at that. That's good, so we can still have multiple instances installed. If you notice, releases don't change that much from one to the next. So Ping got the idea to rewrite it so that it used essentially a Git repository core, and you can tell Git fetch all the objects that I don't already have, and that means a new release, it's there. It's just quick because it doesn't have to download much, and it also means less disk storage because you have all these shared objects of all the different versions you have installed. Puro also understands all the common shells on all the platforms and how to add itself to the path, so the installation is much easier. It also knows about VS Code and IntelliJ and the other IDEs, and understands better how to reset those than FVM ever did. I have had absolutely zero problems with Puro doing the way it does it. And even better, it has eval and REPL. So you can say Puro, eval, and a string, and it will run it as a Dart text program. And you can say which version of Dart to use, so you can actually check it in previous versions, current versions. It has that eval and REPL. Yeah, and so again, it's better, cheaper, faster, and a lot cooler because it has REPL.
The point here seems to me missing good support when switching versions. I've never had a problem switching versions, right? So maybe you've got the wrong file selected, because when you select the file, it has to be the project FVM SDK folder, because that's the folder that gets switched out as a symlink. If you do switch versions, you obviously have to restart the IDEs and an analyzer, because we have cached the old symbols in the old format, right?
Yeah, but check out Puro. Puro is done by the same guy that did Boxy. So, somebody who's well known, actually hangs out as one of the moderators on the Flutter community Discord, which is how I met him first. And I say,
but I miss only this thing that your project previously and your team uses a VM, or your CI uses a VM. Then you don't have this, support, right?
What do you mean? Sorry.
So for example, if you use CodeMagic, for example, and they support a VM, and you want to use Puro, then
yeah, I mean, it's just the commands that you're running, right? And the answer to that is raise a PR with CodeMagic and say support Puro. I mean, I do agree, but most
at the level of CodeMagic, you don't need to have Puro though, because you'll say install this against 3.17 or whatever.
No, what you do is in your pre-script,
and so you don't need to switch when you're in the CI/CD pipeline.
And it doesn't replace things like Melos or those kind of things where you may be having scripts or Flutter scripts where you have like a whole set of scripts to like execute and things around your repository, like code generation or something.
It also has one of those scary curl piped into root shell installers. You don't have to use that, but I always think those are.
I saw that somewhere else the other day for an actual product, and I was like, I don't know who would want to do that. It just feels so bad. It does. I get it, but also it feels so bad.
Well, the weird thing is that if you go ahead and trust it, You don't even need Flutter already installed. It will install your first Flutter
There's
for
something
you and
tricky
set up
about
all
that
your
as well.
paths.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I appreciate it for the beginner and everything else, but there's also something about it's just making decisions that is maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I know.
it's magic. Just check it out, guys. Check it out. It's an easy switch for me. Okay. Oh, next question. Where
Next
where did I
question
go?
is a gist.
Yes, a gist.
All right, I can load that up. Chapam, like magic. Let's make that bigger. Hang on, let's get that out of the way.
Oops. Yeah.
Right.
There we go.
So, I guess there you go. So what's this? Stumbled upon this. The code at the bottom compiles, but there is no output. Okay. When I was thinking it might output something like list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This I was looking for a shorthand to do this. CB equals this. Yeah. I know you can do this inside a conditional, but I would have expected callback this, but wouldn't compile. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, don't do any of this. No, don't. I don't know what that is at the bottom, but the thing you're missing is really straightforward. How about I fork it and then you can hopefully edit.
Worked. Last active now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's make this markdown. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
That can only go bad. I suppose
Yeah. Here it's just callback ? .call, right?
Shh, don't give it away. I haven't typed it yet. Let me just do this quickly because otherwise this is not going to format very well. There you go. Right. Dart. Yeah. So what we're saying is you want to do callback. So if you've got like to see, I don't know, something that can a callback that can be nullable, then you can do a callback dot that call, and then whatever the parameters are, right? In this case, these.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So there you go. Look, it's syntax highlight. This is what you guys need to do. Like just a little bit tiny, and look how nice that is to read.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'll pop this in the chat. Anyway. Yeah. So this is actually a hidden feature of Dart in a way, hidden, if you will. It's a language feature that's been around since the very, very beginning, and it's how a function is called. A function is essentially a type, and you call the call function to actually perform the action. So this is a nice little way that if you've got a nullable callback, you can still call it, and it won't error if it's null, basically, which does exactly what you had as a shorthand for that first piece. So there you go. There's your answer. !call.
Yeah, and I was going to add a couple points if I could, but you can keep going.
Yeah, sure.
I thought you're done. You were slowing down, I thought.
Yeah. Go for it.
No, just one of the things that's just kind of fun to see is you don't need the not equal null then, because if it's the question mark will just result to null and do nothing at that point. But so you're fine without the if. So that's kind of a cool thing. And the other thing is when you've defined callback, if you give it the parameters you expect it to have, it's this would actually still be able to enforce those, right? Yeah.
So it's a bit weird because call itself is a hidden function, so it won't assess to an actual. I don't know if they've changed this recently, so bear with me. But it's always been one of those things that's a hidden function. Like if you were to do autocomplete, it won't fill out the call function, right? It doesn't know it exists, but it's valid syntax, right? And it's like very much like having a dynamic variable and be able to call any function on a dynamic variable, right? Like what the hell? But yeah, so that hopefully should help. That answers your question, Michael, hopefully. Thank you, Michael, for your lovely gist. This is how we do it. This is how we do those long questions. What we don't want to have is like 5-parters and yeah.
I won't even mark a 5-parter anymore. I just yell at the guy and go back. Give me something short. Give me something short. All right.
And even on that one, what was nice about it was the question itself was short.
Yeah.
But then he had lots of context below it if we needed to dig in because it wasn't something like that. So that was actually well done.
Yeah.
I didn't bother with the test. I didn't bother with the test case, by the way. But actually, I'm going to just one thing before we get off this. I just looked at his test case. The reason why this is output nothing is you're not executing the function, right? That's what you're doing here. You're not exiting the function.
Right.
What you can do, and this is actually another little thing. I'll edit this since we're here. Another little thing you can do is if you define an anonymous function like this, you can just put parentheses at the end and call it, right? So if you are declaring a function, you can call it. So this doesn't need what are you actually doing here? If callback is null, yeah, this is backwards. Yeah, that's all right about this. But if you do need to actually declare like an anonymous function, you can still declare it. Imagine this is some code. You can actually call it like this with your parameters, and it still works. So this could be, so in this case, this would be params, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually declare like, and this is just a little stupid example. It's not relevant to this code per se, but yeah, you can declare a function, and then by putting the parentheses afterwards and the semicolon here, we're actually calling that function. So you're making a kind of dynamic function, if you will. It can be useful in certain situations, but yeah, not all.
Mm-hmm.
You should find a way to get a pattern match in there too, just for fun.
Yeah, just fun.
Yeah.
Let's add null safety, pattern matching, and generation, and
just another level of indirection where your function returns a function.
oh yeah, second order functions, right?
Those are fun.
Yeah.
And then we do it all on one line just to make it easy to read.
Of course. Of course.
All right. Here we go.
All right.
Can anyone?
I've looked at this quite carefully.
Okay.
Is there any way possible to host multiple Flutter applications in a single Flutter website based on navigation URLs to get those assets, files, or bundle from Cloud, Firebase, or AWS and host them accordingly?
Yeah,
Sure.
You can definitely have multiple. You can definitely host multiple Flutter, programs by defining the. I can't remember what they call the prefix thing.
Yeah, so it's the base. Yeah. So inside the HTML file for the project, you have a base that's automatically filled in. I think you change it as a parameter during build. I'm not sure, but you can just change it in the file. It says like $Flutter base or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Delete and put / whatever it is, and that's basically the route that all files will be referred will be resolved from. So the idea being that you would make up a directory that contains other directories of each of your Flutter projects, and then your top level one can have like some sort of gallery or links or whatever you want to kind of open them up. Equally, just put this out there, you could just make one Flutter application that imports packages of the other Flutter applications and just starts up the widgets, just calls the main function from each of the others when you want to go to them.
Yes.
That also works as well. Bit less maybe clean and a bit more complicated, but you can do it.
Or you could make your main site a Jasper app, which can embed other Flutter applications, Flutter web applications.
A bit more dynamically that way as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you can actually like load them from a database and then kind of lift them out and load them up at will. Yeah.
And what do they call it when we use a Flutter as an element?
That's it. Flutter embedded Flutter web.
Flutter embedded element.
Yeah, Flutter embedded element. I feel like I was doing karaoke all night last night.
What's that word? That word for a dog? What's the word for a dog?
That's right. Yeah.
Dog. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. All right. So and that's another way that you can actually have multiple different Flutter things going on at the same time.
Sure.
Is with that, which is also useful if you want to, if you do need to mix and match with Angular or anything else.
I will also point this out there that Jasper does server-side rendering, but you don't need to do that. So you can have it completely client-side. So you can just host it on a bucket. Like that you're not required to have code running on a server. That's just an optional way of building your apps, as it were, right?
Right. Depends on what you want.
For those that don't know what Jasper is, I'll put a link in the chat, and then we'll move on.
We need to get Killian on the show now. Now that Jasper is actually being used by the Dart team, which is really nice.
I found a little bug in the thing. I submitted a PR that day. I felt quite accomplished. I did something for the community for a change.
There you go.
A bug, no way. Scott, you want to read this?
Probably not. All right.
Well, if I had to put buttons, you want to go
apps. When updating Flutter or Android projects, how important is it for Android build files to have the KTS file extension? Can I just rename them to build.gradle and settings.gradle files? I'm going to go with probably not.
Stop. Don't do it. So they're meant to have the KTX extension. Don't rename them. Don't do that. You'll break things. So Gradle has moved from having Groovy script, which are the .gradle files, to having Kotlin script to define the build instructions. So you basically have KTS as Kotlin script, not Kotlin files. So the idea here is that it's just a different way of defining the build files. And because Android has moved this way, so has Flutter. So now the default templates use KTS files. They're supposed to be that. Don't change them. They're perfectly fine as they are. There you go. However, it does mean there's a problem. And the problem is if you're reading up help and instructions online that telling you how to do stuff in Gradle, it's not going to work in Kotlin script. There's a slight syntactic difference between the two. Look, you have to Google that one or ask Gemini or one of these things and say, what is this Groovy script for Gradle in KTS? And they'll probably tell you.
Yeah, it'll give you the little shrug emoji.
It'll tell you something.
Yeah, it'll make something up. It'll make something up. It's really good.
And it'll be wrong as well, so you'll be fine.
Yes, right.
I've got my Meta glasses now, and the other day I was asking it some math. I think it was like what is, or I asked it for like half of 1 13/16, and it gave me just a flat out wrong answer on math.
Well,
math it's not good at. Check the chat. There's an update.
No.
And hello, Lane.
Let's see this here. I'm thinking he's asking if he can go from build Gradle to build Gradle KTS. No, still.
I mean,
yeah, it says exactly going from build.gradle to build.gradle KTS.
Updating projects, how important it is for Android to have KTX extension. Okay, sorry. That is the point, and I will exactly going from build.gradle. Okay, well, the answer there is you could just delete, or we've said this before, delete your Android to make sure your project's checked into like some source control, like Git or something. Delete the Android folder, do Flutter create dot, let it rebuild it, and then you can go pick your icons back in and patch it up and fix up the problems. But now you're going to be moved over to being Gradle and KTS, and you didn't have to like do any manual steps, right?
I mean, is there any common reason you would need to edit those files?
Well, you do build flavors or you do something else. The Gradle scripts get changed. Yeah, but there is actually there is migration steps on the Flutter website. They have under the break and changes section. They have migration steps for the Gradle scripts. I will say
your homepage icons, right?
Sorry,
homepage icons.
What?
They're in the end. There's references for the homepage icon. No, I'm sorry, not homepage. The home screen icons in your Android files. Oh
yeah. So there's like all the Android folders hold that. But yeah, the point here is
the Gradle stuff. Yeah.
So Flutter has the migration pieces that helps you migrate. The real thing is you need to do this. It's not like you can't opt to not do this because Flutter is going to depend on the new version of Gradle. Gradle is going to need you to use KTS. This is where it goes. This is just the nature of if you're building an Android app, that's what you're going to have to do. The same as when when we upgrade from CocoaPods to Swift Package Manager, you're going to have to move in that direction. We haven't had anything. Well, then, so the point here is that those probably don't have to change, right? But yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you need to upgrade them, you're going to need to upgrade them. Welcome to the world of mobile development, right? Like, it's part of the job.
Yep.
No one say.
Yeah, in that case, I would say that just create a new separate project, like new Flutter one, and just look how it changes. And
I mean, but that's the same as like deleting the Android projects and like doing Flutter create dot. You'll see like the new ones.
Yeah, true. But then you have deeply app icons or whatever. So
I'm just thinking like inside Git diff, you're going to see the difference between the files, and you can bring it in. But still, you would have to upgrade your existing Gradle to Kotlin. So yeah, much of one and 10 of the other, you know. Anyway,
A little Git trick for this is if you commit the old one and then wipe the subdirectory and then build the new one with a Flutter create dot, and you commit that, before you commit that, you say git checkout head tilde with dash p, git checkout dash p with the previous commit. And what that will do is allow you to have an interactive session where you're pulling in some of the stuff that was old and leaving the rest being new. It's really kind of nice. So the
you
dash
can do
p
that.
switch you can check out is amazing.
That's what I was saying. Basically, you don't have to do it on the command line. That most of the IDEs have their Git stuff all built in that does all that. So
Yeah.
you can choose.
Cool stuff.
But yeah,
Cool stuff. All right.
and as Raf said, you could just do it manually, create one separately, and then compare. Just compare two sets of files. Open two project windows, make the comparisons.
Yeah.
All right.
There are
Whatever's easy.
100 ways of doing it. Yes. You could farm it out to an offshore developer.
Before we jump on to the next question, I will say this we've had these conversations in the community before, and that is, as a cross-platform developer, yes, you need to learn Flutter, but you also need to know Android and iOS or whatever platforms you're targeting, because it's your product running on that platform. You're still going to need to know at least some of that platform, enough to get past. The build framework is the bare minimum. You need to understand what Gradle is, how it works, all the information around that, because you're going to be building your app on Android, right? So yeah, I would say if anyone takes away from this is learn how Xcode build works, learn how the build system works on Gradle, learn the two systems if you're targeting iOS and Android for sure. Right, yeah.
Oh, all right. This one's interesting.
Ran over.
Yeah, I have an interesting take on this. If Flutter is a single-threaded framework, why can't we change or access the UI from an isolate? If it's all done in single main UI thread, I may be completely wrong. Please guide. Thanks. Well,
Okay.
First of all, hang on. Isolate is because it's isolated. So they are isolated from your main UI thread. However, at the same time, an isolate is on the main thread. So it's on the main thread, yet isolated from the main thread. Let that one sink in for a minute.
Not exact. Well, yes and no. I mean, like the fact of the matter is, Flutter is not a single-threaded framework, and it never has been, and it never will be. But what they are doing, and this is what's happened. This is the most recent change that came out. I don't know if it's come out yet, or if it is coming out. So bear with me, but it has been spoken about. You've got your main UI thread. That's the operating system uses, like Android uses to render its widgets. And then you have a UI thread that Dart has always used to build its framework and do all its stuff. That's the two main threads. And what they're doing is bringing them up into alignment. So basically, all the Dart code is going to be running on the same thread that the operating system uses. This is two interesting impacts. One is, and this is the concern, and that is now the time that you have per frame is also used for the operating system side of things, right? Okay, so that's one thing. So now we're sharing one thread of one amount of time against 2 bits of work, right? However, this means that now, and this is the point that the person has here, you can now communicate directly asynchronously with the native operating system, where before it always had to be asynchronous, which always had its pros and cons. Specifically doing FFI and everything else, when the native platform says you have to have your code run on a certain thread, we don't have that luxury, right? We don't have the luxury of saying, okay, we need to run on the main thread to make sure everything's synchronized correctly. So there is this realm of where that's where it's going. Isolates, however, are the notion of having an isolated memory space. So code running on it is still essentially running on the thread that it was running on. Isolates are given their own thread, however. They're not the main thread, right? So there is the main isolate that the app runs on, and anything you run on that will be able to change the UI and access Android APIs and do whatever it needs to do directly in the new world, in the new order, right? However, if you spin up a second isolate, that's still not the main thread, right? So in which case, that can't do that interaction, right? And you're still going to have to work out how you want to do that. So as part of the future work, we spoke about this last week, there's talk at the moment, there's planning work around implementing threads, thread pull, atomic references, synchronization, all those other fun things into Dart. And if we do that, then we actually have that control to be able to do scheduling, to be able to really affect things. It does make things slightly more complicated when you're programming that model. You're not saying you have to use it. You still have isolates, I think, from my understanding about reading it. But it's a point that we have the control when you need it. And that this is kind of come down to a few different places in my journey with Flutter, and that is it's limiting areas where I want it not to be limited. That's kind of when you go down into the details, right? So, for example, and I forgot Robert's last name last week, but Robert Felker, who was doing the rendered imagery, he was using Dart and Flutter to render this beautiful imagery, but he didn't have multi-threading. He had to work with isolates and messaging and everything else, and it wasn't as speedy, as elegant, as performant as it could be if we had that direct access. So there's certain things that you can do with the frameworks that we're now wanting to do with it. Now everyone's getting to that point, but we can't do unless we have this migration move taking place with the framework and with the language. That's my rant. There you go. Sorry.
Well, and I think one of the important things that you mentioned, but kind of went by really quick, is directly. No, you're talking about directly accessing it. I mean, your isolate can have some control over the UI. It's just going to have to be done by communicating back to the part that actually controls the UI to do it. So you should be able to do that anyway. It's this direct, the directly part of that you can't do.
So yeah, let's see how it goes. To be clear, Flutter's it's not just Flutter is not one thread. That's the main thread, and I think that's the experience that the Chromic journey here has had, in that all your code is running on one isolate. That's not the same as one thread, right? So to be clear, your Dart code runs on a single threaded isolate, right? How you can make more isolates to make it multi-threaded, right? Won't go into where that goes and how it works. But the point being that actually under the hood, Flutter actually has at least four threads, I think minimum now, which is like the main thread, the render thread. There's like a build thread. There's another thread. I forget.
GC.
Right. There's one for some of the handling of meshing back and forth. Particularly the point here I'm trying to make is that the rendering is done separately from the building of your app. So when you build something, it builds out, you have like Canvas Paint. Most people probably played around with this. So the idea here being that all your render instructions that for the results of Canvas get sent over to the render thread. The render thread actually renders it on the GPU. So like the two things are separate and run concurrently together, right? You do one, the other one's running, but by the time the paint's running one frame, you're already building the next, so they can run concurrently together. Slightly out of step. Rutvik, so this migration is good, like for performance at all.
No, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. That's why they're doing it. They're making it slow down for you. Yeah,
they're going to slow down the entire thing. No,
yeah,
don't worry. That was the initial concerns, and that after analysis and everything else, this is the direction we think it goes, because you get more. There's more pros than cons, right? It just means that you're probably going to have to be doing things like more isolates, perhaps, if you're doing heavy workloads. But that's what you should be doing now anyway. So for example, and this has been the example from day one, and it's kind of one of those things. It's lazy development, right? And I'm going to put my hand on the heart and say I've been this person, but on the Flutter website, in the widget book, not widget, what's it called? Widget catalog, somewhere in the write-ups. There's an example of doing JSON parsing that uses isolate.run. It uses a background isolate to do the JSON parsing, because why are you doing that on your main thread that you're doing the UI on, right? How many people, though, actually go to the expense of actually doing isolate.run to do the JSON parsing?
I mean,
maybe not that many, because it's not the work that they're doing for JSON parsing is normally quite small, and it takes like nanoseconds to do this parsing or milliseconds or whatever, rather than eating up your entire like parsing in like 2 megabyte JSON is going to take you 100 milliseconds or something, right? At least, right? And that would stall 5-10 frames on your graphics, right? Which you don't want. So that's when you go to an isolate world. But you don't try isolates immediately until you've got the dropped frames, until you see that performance. And it's not going to be on your device, the developer device. It's really, really high performance because you're doing development. No, it's not going to be until a customer complains on that shitty device, pardon my French, that really, really crap like iPhone from years ago that is installing and missing frames all over the place. They're like, your app is so crap, right? That's because you're on this lovely development machine. So it's always happens to developers. They're on this like, good internet connections, wonderful machines, and everything else, and they just don't think about that low end device that their app's going to be running on. So sorry,
And
this back.
when pushing something computation heavy over to an isolate, you also have to remember there's a couple levels of overhead. If you use something like isolate run, which exits in order to return its value, so it doesn't have to deserialize it or reserialize it and deserialize it again, then you're still paying the expense of starting the isolate each time. And so there's that expense. But if you say, well, good, then I'll just use a long running isolate. The problem is then you pay the serialization, deserialization for every return value.
You used to have the expense, but now they're called lightweight isolates for that exact purpose. That they actually
lightweight. It's still expensive.
It's still expensive. They still have time to spin up, but it's like the cost is like nowhere near.
Yeah. Test isolate run out. If you don't need it to be a long running isolate run is probably your best drop-in solution for saying take this task and put it somewhere else and give me the result when it's done.
It's the same. In fact, the compute function in Flutter, which has been around from day one, is now literally isolate.run, where before it's some complicated stuff. Now it's just isolate.run because it is exactly that. If you've got a future and you want to stick in a background thread to operate because it's long running, or it's going to take up more than a frame, a few milliseconds, exactly what you should be doing. I think we get into an interesting realm. I think this is other languages like Kotlin as well have this problem of coroutines. And so effectively, Dart's async and await is coroutines. It's a bit more complicated than that. It's not exactly that. But the point here is that when something awaits, that whole flow of execution is stalled, put onto a background queue whilst the CPU and the app runs something else. So the advantage is that you can just spin up async and await things, and they'll just all connect up and will work without you have to think about threading and synchronization and anything. Which I can tell you right now, from being in the previous world of just threads for everything and having to synchronize it is a nightmare compared to this. Right? This is great. However,
even using spawn was a mess in terms of getting the send port and the receive port all correct so that you could get a value back ultimately. That was just a mess. I'm glad this is all just isolate run, pass it a feature. That is so nice.
I'm gonna caveat this with an expert, and it's very difficult to understand. I've seen some bug reports in the community, some people talking about this, and we will get on with questions and apologize for this, but I think people are interested in this. Where you do isolate.run, and inside that isolate.run, you start modifying variables of some of your maybe global singletons that you have.
Ooh, no.
Randall knows what I'm talking about. What you've just done is when the isolate.run started, it made a duplicate of all of your running memory for your app. Hello, Steph. It made a duplicate. Hang on. It made a duplicate of all the running instances of all your classes into the new memory space, right? That has an interesting dynamic because now it means that if you make changes over here in the isolate, they're not reflected in the main isolate because they are isolated from each other.
Yep.
So this is one of the things that you make changes and they just disappeared. You're like, what happened? Like it's not obvious until you do you look at the object identity. So if you're ever in a situation where you're like, this doesn't make sense, I'm making the changes, but they're not happening. Always check the object identity. You're probably right. They're not happening. And you're looking at two different objects. You think they're the same, but they're not. So
let me give a specific example.
So easy to accidentally have a second instance spawn on you too.
Yeah. So let me give a specific instance of that. One of the things that keeps coming up is that if you're in an isolate, you think you can use Riverpod providers, but that's actually all over in the main isolate. So you no longer have access to that stuff when you're over in the and that's particularly for notifications in the background. People are always screaming that my Riverpod's not working for notifications. I go, yeah, it's because you're in a different world over there. So yeah. Anyway, and also just we're coming up to the top of the hour again. I'm gonna have to cut off questions in about 5 minutes at most if we're gonna get out of here before closing time.
That's the one I think. Describe.
And before the next question, since we have both Danielle and Steph here, is there any kind of event you two might want to plug?
Yes.
Actually, Steph is speaking at this event.
Well, Yeah,
Hopefully.
I'm supposed to. We have a Flutteristas conference scheduled. It will be right here on the Flutter Community YouTube channel. It's actually already there, so you can like go and follow it, subscribe, whatever. I can't think of the technical term. Anyway, it is going to be presented by Flutteristas, and we have the support on the back end from Simon and Scott. I'll do some stuff too. Yes, I am currently supposed to be presenting. Still trying to figure some stuff out. If I can't figure it out, it was suggested. Hold on, my Post-it's trying to cover my camera. It has been suggested that I still present and I talk about my difficulties that I've run into. In fact, I got a big thumbs up from Simon a couple days ago if I do that. Thank you for sharing that. So if you don't know what Flutteristas are, and you probably talked about that already, but I'm going to do it again because people may have come on, late like me. Flutteristas.
Sorry, I want to put that back up.
It's in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, perfect. Flutteristas is a community for people who are women and non-binary and have a passion for Flutter. And you can go to flutteristas.org to find out more information about our conference. Also, we are still updating it. The speakers are posted. We don't have the agenda posted publicly yet because we're still working on it.
Yeah. And
I just stopped by because Danielle asked me, and I had 10 minutes that I could just swing by.
I saw you came by last week, so after I left.
Yeah, that was kind of a fluke. I don't even remember how that one happened.
We saw you. We asked.
Yeah. Oh, it happened to be across. I had some free time, so
there you go. That's rare.
And I could only just slip in now because I'm currently set up so we can do the recording, and so I could just bring myself on without having to have anybody do it for me.
Nice. So if you notice, if you're in America, yes, we are still doing diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah. Regardless of what someone says.
Exactly.
Oh, and okay, I need to say something. Our Flutterista web admin has been doing great, and I do have to give massive shout outs to Simon. Still need your logos. He has also been a huge supporter of our Flutterista website and has been helping train our admins using Jasper. And it's been awesome. I love our community so much.
Okay.
And before I pop out, have we made any decisions about next week's timing?
Ask us at the end of the show.
Oh, because we're changing times. Oh,
yeah. Time zone changes, of course.
God, I love it.
Time to stop it twice a year. Those
No, Randall.
The big news here in Oregon, where Randall and I live, is now they're still talking about getting rid of the time change. I'd just like to stay on it and not go back to the dark times. Anyway,
I'm hoping for standard time permanently everywhere in the world.
Standard time.
Yeah, standard time.
Absolutely.
Define the dark times.
Standard time is best time.
Well, because we live above the 45th parallel, the dark times in that frame of reference has nothing to do with what's going on the other side of this country. It's it gets dark at 3:30 in the afternoon, 15:30, and
you just adjust your schedule of activities so it matches the sun. That's it.
Well,
it's that
okay.
simple. Who cares what time number it is?
Definitely standard.
If we do it in the winter, our time is like 8 to 3.
It's the
So
same
you
here.
get up. Get up later. You get up later. You work that out on your own. Anyway,
we're taking away time from questions.
Yes.
Thank you for joining, and
we still have 8 questions to go, so let's finish those up.
And at the time, it's probably about time for me to drop. I might as well go now.
Thanks, Danielle.
I'm dropping too.
See you next week, hopefully. See you sometime next week.
Exactly right.
Who knows what you'll be here.
We've decided I can come no matter what next week. It just maybe this second hour instead of the first hour.
Yes.
We'll see.
So yes, we'll see you at the regular hour, the second hour, or maybe you'll be here really early.
Yes. You'll take first shift. You take the first shift. All you on your own.
Yep.
Yes.
And I didn't say it earlier, but Matt, I hope you get over your head cold.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So bye, everybody.
Right.
Yes.
Bye.
I like this. Oh wait! Oh! It got moved. Darn it! I hate it when the stupid scroll happens right as I'm clicking on something.
Right.
That's so
I will
annoying.
actually. I wanted to put up on stream
Sure.
actually, which was this. So for those that don't know, I was talking about the object identity. This is what you need to run in Flutter. It's called describe identity. You run this on any object, and what you'll get out is the name of the class of the object followed by its object hash code. This is not the same as using a hash code of the object. It's like the identity hash code. So each object, this is the same as like Java and other languages. When an object is made, it's given a unique number. That unique number will never change for the entire lifetime of the object.
Right.
Then you normally display that in hex because it's a bloody long number, and then the idea is that you'll be able to recognize if two objects are the same object by just looking and see if the object identity hash code is the same. That's kind of an identical match. There's actually a function called identical in Dart. Hang on, I'm going to bring it up. No, it would be the one time I'm trying to find it. There we go, identical. Here we go. And let me bring this up. Sorry, everyone. They are. So if you want to know if two objects are identical, it's the identical function. And this is literally what it does. It looks at the actual object references, as it says here, which is those object identity hash codes. And it's used in a lot of the equals and comparison functions if you're actually interested. So there's some interesting things around that and records and some other fun stuff. But anyway, the point here being that we talked about isolates briefly just a minute ago, which was if you spin up an isolate, you'll get different memory and therefore a new object with a different ID. And that's how you know that you might be modifying something you shouldn't be modifying. It's also the reason why you don't get things like plugins just magically work in an isolate, because things would get confusing. So it's up to you as a programmer to understand these concepts and to work around them. There's definitely more talks, and there's actually some talks in FlutterCon, I think last year, around sort of concurrency, synchronization, a bunch of these aspects. It's definitely an interesting topic and something worth exploring. All right. What's next, Randall?
We got 9 questions, and I've cut everybody off, so we're not getting any more. But that's already
no more questions.
An hour of questions. We have like an hour of questions still already. So here we go.
Yeah, I think this is the 4th question we're answering.
No, we're up to about 8.
Okay. ByteDance just announced Lynx, their native cross-platform technology. What's your take on its performance?
Never heard of it before now, so you know.
Right. ByteDance, aren't they the Chinese people that we're scared of? I think.
They are the people who made their app in Flutter.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they're doing a lot of
Lynx.
Flutter actually.
Lynx LLM from ByteDance. That's not a cross-platform technology. Well, directly. Is it the question here is this a cross-platform technology for building cross-platform apps, or do you mean that Lynx itself is cross-platform, and what's our take on it?
If you could only ask another question, we would be able to be clearer about that.
I am going to allow Shri, let's go Shri, to post another question. Why not?
Yes, right. Okay, if I see
I have spoken.
Yes, it's your show. It's all good.
Was it the Mandalorian?
Scott, read this.
Actually, there's a follow-up here from Raf in the. There's a link.
Oh. Unlocking native and more. Okay, should we bring up on stream and have a read before we jump on something else? Why not? Let's get the question.
If you just go to the main, like the root of this link, then
okay,
it's probably better.
Okay, let's get hang on. Where's the question? Let's get the question on screen. Introductory blog, empower the web community. Empower the web community. Where's the rest of the community? Why is it only the web community? So, invite more to build cross-platform. Okay, Android iOS web, performance at scale, web-inspired design.
And
React
Native.
Is this a pro or is this a con? Out of curiosity to everyone.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, CSS doesn't fill me with hope. And
Yeah.
okay, yeah, sure, I can kind of see that, but do you know how complicated CSS gets? And it's like, well,
Yeah.
why do I want that complexity, right?
Yes.
I mean,
I'm having
okay.
to relearn it for my Jasper site, so I already know that I hate it again.
Looks like it's cross-platform for web developers.
Well, no, I
Yeah.
think. Well, the question is, I don't think it's where.
Native.
Let's have a look. Let's just have a look. This is
It's like
interesting.
React
So,
Native, probably. It looks
they're
like
shaping the web technologies since 2008 PhoneGap and later Cordova.
Yeah.
Sorry, just yeah. I can't say those words again. I makes me feel sick. I remember those days. They were not fun days. WebView. Okay, the same year, Flutter and with its web heritage adopted a similar declarative UI model, introduced a new approach to custom rendering engine. Links follow a similar spirit and alternative web-tailored app experiences. It aims to honor assets and web technologies with an opinionated approach supporting web-like APIs and adding constraints and extensions with clear intent. Sounds interesting. Clear intent does not make sense with CSS, though. Right, let's have a look. Okay. System selectors, gradients. I mean, I can see this. This feels very much like is it me? Is this just JavaScript?
Somebody
This
in the chat.
syntax. This syntax is very much TypeScript, right? Sorry, I said JavaScript. I meant TypeScript. This is syntax. This is what they do inside React for doing what's the React UI framework called? The web
GSX?
framework. GSX, that's the one, yeah. This looks like GSX completely. I mean, okay, it can be the same. I don't care. No, just... Okay. Okay, so that's it running a web. That's the preview. Okay. Main thread responsive interaction, instant first frame rendering, main thread scripting. Democratize cross-platform technologies.
So from what I'm getting from Lane in the chat, it is YA JSF, yet another JavaScript framework.
It's so. But the question is it out? I'm trying to understand this. Okay. There you go. There's the. So, is this one of those ones that I've seen? Do you remember that? What is it that we saw? There was a JavaScript framework that was pushing Skier to JS, like on web. Like there was a whole and some frame. Was it React for web that was trying to use Skier at one point, or someone was trying to port to Skier? Feels like it might be. Again, it doesn't jump out at me at like. Okay, what is performance? User perceived performance. It's not the best way of explaining performance when you first jump into it. Application runtime performance. These two are reversed in the priority of this document. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay, rendering speeds.
We could keep contemplating about things we don't know, or we could move on to things we know.
Yeah, we're just having a poke. We're just having a poke.
All right.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, you ask us questions we can't answer. It looks interesting. If you know JavaScript and you want to stay in that world, go ahead. I mean,
Yeah. All right, moving on.
But we could recommend something better. Go, Scott.
How can we load, say, the Google Map API key from an environment file, env file, instead of hard coding it in the Android manifest XML, app delegate Swift or info plist?
You don't.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter because the env file has to be shipped at some point too. Then.
So even if you downloaded it, you can't do it. Google Maps doesn't allow that. It has to be in the XML file for it to work. That's the way their system works. So shipping an API key in your app is not a problem. It shouldn't be. It's public knowledge. It's used. The key is that you have restrictions on your API keys in the Google API keys. So you go into GCP, you find the bit about APIs and credentials in GCP, and then you set up the restrictions for your hash of your app and the hash of your key and your certificate for iOS and all that kind of jazz. Lock it down. No one can then use it. Now, if someone then rips off your app and tries to re-sign it and tries to reuse it or whatever else, it's not going to work because different signing key. Even if they get around all these things and start using it, you use key rotation, which is every 3 months, every 6 months, you're changing your key. You're looking at key usage. You make sure that you've got limitations on the keys. You can do that inside the lockdown stuff. So it can only be used for Google Maps and not for like racking up bills doing like AI searches or something else, right? So yeah, it's that kind of thing. It's about good practical API key management and not where can I load it from. You should be doing that anyway. Even if you were downloading this online, it'll still be that same problem. You need to do those bits. So yeah, or use OpenStreetMaps maps. I mean, like Flutter maps, you can go support anything, any mapping thing you want, right? Yeah, just read what they say, do what they say, and you'll be fine.
Oh, we have a gist coming up.
Yep.
Oh,
any idea on how I can make my border radius smoother?
Let's have a look.
Yeah.
It's re-implemented the Jasper hover animation, but the original edges
Ooh, a Jasper question.
border are a bit blurry.
Okay, hey man, which one are we looking at? Oh, okay. This is the gist. So is this a Jasper gist or a normal gist? I'm confused.
Well, we don't know yet.
What? Okay. I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is just a normal.
I'm going to assume this is Jasper gist.
No, this is Flutter. I re-implemented the Jasper hover animation. Exactly. Oh, okay. Sorry. So, he's doing Jasper hover, but in here. So what we can actually do is do dartpad dev ID equals this. Oh, whoa. Okay, hotkey. Sorry. There you go. Hey, look at that, everyone. Instantly loaded the person's code. Look. Now we get to test it. Hover. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's awesome.
Pretty.
Pretty. Oh, I see. There you go.
Borrowed the idea.
So what is it? So I know this how I can make my border radius smoother. Looks pretty damn smooth to me. What do you mean smoother? Is it jerky? Is it because, Philip, your borders are like you're skipping frames? Is that what your problem is? Like, because it's probably because you're in debug mode. In release mode, release your app and it'll be perfectly smooth and fine. I don't know. It looks fine to me. Looks cool. In fact, I really like it.
Yeah.
I kind of want this like fill from where you move the mouse into the widget. You know.
Ooh, that would be cool.
So look, like this, when I move over here, it kind of looks like I've kind of like filled from where my mouse is in, right?
It should flood from where you. Yeah. Ooh, that would be cool. We should do that. That should be your next task.
I mean, this is great. Yeah. Scott, do you mind muting there?
We're hearing somebody. All right. Shall we go move on, or we? Go?
Yeah, I perhaps you can. Is Philip actually said anything in the chat?
No.
Try to change the radius, but there are some artifacts. Oh, okay. Should we try to change the radius then? I know. Let's try to change the radius. Where's that? Where am I specifying the radius here? So we've got animated border.
It should be a const somewhere, huh?
Animated border. Okay, so there's no actual radius. Oh, radius 12. Okay, sorry. Okay, so. Oh, you mean you wanted to smoothly animate the radius? Is that what your question is? Sorry, let's have a look here. So if I was to put radius 32 and hit play, you'd expect it to okay. You have got some issues, my friend. Okay. All right.
Actually, I think it looks really cool.
All right, so that's 16, and then the problem is at the moment this is like just rebuilding. Everything you don't get a hot reload, right, or hot restart like that. No, I mean, how are you drawing your border? Are you actually drawing it? Oh, I see. Interesting. You don't have to do this. That's what I would say. The existing border, the existing path, the rectangle border stuff, take advantage of it. It literally outputs a path. I see that and maybe I can see the kind of thing because obviously it's rendering from a certain point. Like this is start corner bottom right, so you're rendering the line from that point onwards. You're just asking for trouble. Honestly, you're asking for trouble doing this. You can do it though. So I mean, it's already done inside the framework, right? You're just doing a lerp. So you're doing a linear interpolation from one radius value to the next. So on each frame, you're essentially maybe remaking this path. I'm just trying to see if I can't search. Why can't I search? Damn it. Yes. Where is it actually being used? We'll go back to it just in a minute. Wow, hang it. What? On every paint? Okay, you definitely don't need to be doing this on every paint, right? These things don't change for the lifetime of the widget, right? So, well, they don't change whilst the widget parameters haven't changed. So only rebuild the path when one of those parameters changes. That's your first thing I'd say, just on top of this, right? I know it sounds silly, but anything you can not compute during paint is a good thing. Trust me. Then you compute the metrics, and you have to do this to work out the points and the tangents along the actual path itself. If you have some metrics, and basically you're working out about how many points along that path, and then you're drawing the path. Sure, okay. I mean, this is kind of standard fare, and you can do this with any path. Like you can actually compute this path. The only thing you can't do with the existing framework is to give a start corner. But what you could do is actually extract out the compute metrics and work that one out. So that's another option which I'd probably explore. But when it comes to the corner, you're just lerping this value. So that's about having ignore this painter. The paint just takes whatever the new radius is right now. All you need to do is inside your build method in here, add a tween. You could add an animated builder. You got an animated builder. Take a look at oh damn, what's it called? Oh, there's a bunch of animated widgets. Name one.
Animated container, animated size.
Yeah, exactly, right. The one time I'm like trying to remember what I've just gone to the wrong thing. Yeah. A bunch of them have an example of where this kind of comes in. So animated online, I'm going to choose that one because this has popped up here. Let's bring up the source code for this, just so you can see this as a point of reference. So yeah, implicitly animated widget, which is what I actually want, which is defined probably elsewhere. But anyway, the point here is there's this notion for each tween to take the current value and go to a new value. And that's actually in, let me see if I can find the originating widget here. Of course I can. Right, wash. Let's see if I can bring this up on stream briefly. Really? You're gonna L3 284. What's 284 when you want it? Sorry everyone, probably make you sick doing that scroll. 284. Here we are, implicitly animated widget. Yeah, it's just basically saying like that did update widget. And here this is looking at like the values have changed, and if the values constrained, this is construct tween, then it then rebuilds the tweens. And essentially it's the same thing that you need to do. So all you need to do is look at, is your radius different, and then reconstruct your tween to go to the new radius, and then you're just animating with that new tween value. So in each frame, you're just taking that value and passing it on to your paint, your custom painter. And if you use an animated builder, of course, it's only going to rebuild as required when the radius changes, when the tween changes. It's about as simple as it gets, really. It is, you're going down the rabbit hole there, but it's a fun one. Don't get me wrong. And you'll know this nice kind of like, as the radius parameter changes, you'll get the nice borders changing.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Shall we move on?
But I would say use border radius, and there's other things where you can actually extract. It has like create inner path, create outer path, things like that, which actually give you those lines, so you don't have to keep drawing them yourself. Well, you got works though, so yeah, congratulations. It looks really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty. Definitely. Okay, Scott.
I have a video and it's long, like 10 minutes. How can I generate a thumb for it smoothly? I have seen some apps doing it.
I said don't do it on your device. Make a server do that.
I mean,
Yeah, but I asked him a question, and it's local video, so he has this on device already, and I guess he just want to make the list of, I don't know, videos on his phone or whatever. So unless there is like plugin ready, then I think he just needs to use like the native platform for Android and iOS.
So get video thumbnail is the package
If
you're
you
talking
use
about.
like the live VLC or whatever it is, the sort of the universal video thing, and say extract a frame using that.
Yeah. But Simon just found the
This
package.
is the one.
Seems,
this is the one that I would probably go to at the moment. Get video thumbnail. This natively uses the native features of the operating system to extract the thumbnail based on a few various parameters. You give it like position and like how long into the video and what quality level you want and that kind of stuff. There's a bunch of like, it can work from data or a file path and that kind of stuff. Probably what I'd say, just check this in, just use it. I'll put the link in the chat. This kind of fundamentally say something that it is like, if you're just trying to thumbnail, I'd say fine, do it on the device, because all you're doing is you're not playing back the video, you're not processing every frame of the video, you're just extracting essentially an iframe from P frame, whatever it is, one of the full frames from the video file. However, I will also say that there's advantages and disadvantages to doing this, right? Like you have to do the processing. It may take some time, depends on the device, right? Probably on one video, it doesn't matter how long the video is or how big the video, but if it's 4K, now there's a lot more processing for it to do in 4K than it is it's 4 times as much than HD, and HD is a lot more than normally what you might do, which is like 720p, right? So depending on the device and the capability of the device, doing like maybe a 4K, finding a thumbnail in a 4K video might take a bit, but for most of the time you're probably fine. What Randall was saying about pushing to the server, that has two interesting. If you're doing lots of image video processing or some other stuff with it, push it to the server, let the server handle it, right? However, there's an interesting dynamic here in terms of development, is that now you're pushing to the server, now your costs as an owner of the app go up because you have to have more power that you're paying for, right? More CPU, memory, everything else on the server side. If you can take advantage and scale of what's on the device, that's great. But however, if you do that, now you've got to think about the user might complain, their phone's getting hot, it consumes their battery, because now you're using their phone to do all this stuff, right? Or if also that you're shipping like FFmpeg in as your app, and now it's super big and everything else that goes along with that. So there's pros and cons to both, and it depends on what you're doing as to which route you choose and for what you do. For the most part, if you're going to do any processing on device, I haven't found it, but there's a great, I haven't found a Flutter plugin for it, but there's a great Android package for Android devices called Transcode, which basically does transcoding on device using the native APIs, which give you most performance, least battery drain, and you don't have to ship anything inside your app. There you go. Goodbye.
Ready.
Next, I'm
Nick.
trying drilling here. Hold on, Festival. Here, what's this? Oh, this is. What's your opinion about 329? This version's hot reload is not working. What do you mean not working? It's got to be working for somebody, or they wouldn't have shipped it.
Yeah.
So we need
I'm going to say that this is, and Scott's going to remember these days. Flutter clean, please.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I know you've probably done this as I'm hoping you've already done this, Ranjit, but it's one of those things. People don't do this stuff. They upgrade their version of Flutter, and now the local files are built with an older version. You might get some weird incompatibilities, some weird behaviors, things not working, maybe like hot reload or some other weird errors. Delete that Dart tool directory, delete the build directory, or just run Flutter clean and do Flutter pub get or whatever it is, and just fetch it again, build it from fresh. That's what I'd say. And guarantee hot reloading is working. Is it not working, or is this web? Because hot reload has changed on web, I think. Hot restart, I can't remember. But yeah, maybe that's also affected. But yeah, I'd say stay with Flutter clean.
So, at the risk of exploding the chat,
No.
what does everyone think of the new formatting in Dart 3.7?
Oh God, he did it! He did it!
Oh, I did. Oh, Scott, you can go now.
Oh, Scott.
Oh,
No,
I had to bring that up.
I'll be honest with you. So there's some interesting stuff from the community came up, right? So
here we go. Now we're down a rabbit hole for 20 minutes. All right.
Well, let's not rabbit hole it, right? But I will say that I don't like the idea that it's removing my commas when I want them in there.
I don't like it shoving all this stuff on one line. I used to be able to read everything very nicely, and the indenting made it so easy to see what was going on. And now, whether you want it to be or not, it slams everything it can fit on one line onto one line. It's just...
So you can force that. For anyone that doesn't know, you can add a blank single line comment, or any single line comment, that's the double slashes, at the end of any line. Now, of course, it can't format it because that would go into the comment. So it's kind of a hack way that we've always had in Flutter of forcing a line break. But I don't have to do that all over my app to kind of get the formatting I want.
Another interesting thing, you can change to Dart 3.6, as Simon mentioned one time, and it does keep your formatting very good. But when you go to run the app, you need to go change it back to 3.7.
Yeah.
So
anyway, and it's also odd in that there was a long comment period, and only now people are upset. That's because people aren't participating more with beta release than they really should be.
I just, to be honest, I wish I could, and I'd still go and find myself in chances to do it now. It's just, it's real shame. I'm also curious about. Sorry, go on.
I was just saying, a lot of times people don't have time or don't realize it's there.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, it's life's not simple. It is what it is.
Right. Okay, we got a two-parter here. Is there a good Dart ORM available for the back end? And I tried Prisma, but the problem is we all need to write schema in one file only. And generated code is too long with only 4 tables, and it generated exceeds 1.5 meg. Why do you care how long a generated file is? For that's just silly. But
it is. There is. Well, I'm gonna say yes and no. I really care if it's going to slow down my Dart analysis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Sure.
But and then it also the IDEs and in fact the Dart analyzer gives up. I think it's 3 meg file. Anything larger than 3 meg, it gives up, which I found with Google Fonts generated files. If you look at one of the Google Fonts, like the package generated files, it's like, can't analyze it. You're on your own. I'm like, great, thanks. You don't, I mean, with only 4 tables, I mean, I don't know what they're generating. So I tried it, which is a second part to one part. Is there a Dart? Oh, sorry. The first part was: is there a good Dart ORM available for the back end? ServerPod has one.
The ServerPod definitely would be something to look at.
I've been playing around with that recently. Must be pretty
It's
good.
a follow-up here. I'm looking for a modular solution. And the problem with Prism is everything's under one file. Why are you caring about files?
I think, yeah, it shouldn't make a difference. It's all under one file. No, it doesn't make any difference to you or to how you utilize it. You can also just simply do this. Make 4 export files and just export the symbols for the tables that you want to do. And now you've got imports that only import the symbols for those tables. There you go. So a lot of people don't know you can do that. You can just do export, whatever the file is in your project, and then the symbol name, and it only exports that from that Dart file. So now you can have your like underscore, like I don't know, hidden like generate file, and then you can make 4 table files, and each table file just exports the things for that table. Ta-da! You've solved your problem. There you go.
Yeah, sure. All right, next.
How to run specific screen of Flutter on another activity instead of the main activity.
Okay. The question here actually is a bit more complicated because is the main activity also Flutter? And you want to set Flutter up on a different one? Is that what you're asking? Like, or have you got an Android app that already exists running Android code and you want to add Flutter to a secondary screen? There's slightly
Which would be add to app.
Which is add to app. Yeah. I have a feeling that you're probably going to be best sort of suited to look at add to app. Let me get up the page and drop it into the chat for everyone. Add to app is a existing, there you go. Add to an existing app. Add to app is a schema that Flutter's been running since day one. And this basically says that, you know, how you can have multiple views, multiple Flutter engines, some hybrid of like screens. So you can have like, it walks you through it for Android and iOS and web and all the rest of it. And yeah. So you've got the option of basically including Flutter as part of your existing application. You can just use the Flutter embedder right now, and you don't have to do add to app, and you can just use a different application. Like if you build your Flutter app, you'll notice that main activity is there, and it says extends Flutter activity, I think it is. You can just like go look at the Flutter activity source code and see how it does it. It just sets up a Flutter view and sticks it in there and reads some of the XML files for like the splash screen to launch it up. You just rename it to my other about screen activity or whatever it is, stick a main activity Android in there, and now have it launch it. I mean, I don't know what you're trying to do, so it's a bit hard to explain what you want, but probably add to app. Look, read that up. Cool. But yeah.
All right, and then there were 3.
Yep. All right, next one.
How can I show the camera feed of one phone on another phone and maybe use one as a primary device for recording or photos from both? Any packages that I can use?
No. You can do it. You can do it. I've not heard of any packages for this specific thing, but this is what happens. Like, this is your app. This is what you have to build, right? What you're just trying to do is networking, right? So all you're trying to do is open up what's called a socket, right? Which is a networking connection between 2 devices. So you can either do that by you basically do a thing where it's called local device discovery. You send out a broadcast packet from one device, and the other device detects it, gets the IP address, and connect back to the original device. So you can have a local connection between 2 devices, find each other on a local network. This is how you can have, once you've got that connection, well, you can just send whatever data you want over that. That can be images. So as you get an image from the camera, you shift it over the network, and then when it gets to the other end, you display it on the screen. You've done what you wanted to do.
Right? Yes, I posted the name of the most popular nearby network discovery app that's portable. Yep. That's Bonsoir. Because it's a play on the words for bonjour, which is what Apple calls it.
Yeah.
Well, it means good evening.
Platform. Yeah.
Zero config library. Wow, nice for device network discovery. I like it.
Yeah,
nice.
You can basically publish those little things that show up that go like, I have an FTP port, or I have a socket for, Skype or whatever, right? It's how you announce it to your nearby neighbors, and this finds those.
Oh, based on Android NSD. Okay. So there are some other there are some other interesting things that you can do as well. You can definitely do this on desktop. You can do it on. Looks like it's Android and iOS only.
No,
But
no.
No,
no,
no, it's Linux, Mac, Windows.
it says at the top, but is it?
Oh,
Uh,
well,
I don't trust the thing in thing because it doesn't actually dictate it, right? Let's have a quick look. I'm gonna have a
let me
quick
check the source code.
Should I bring up the source code? Let's bring up the source code. Let's go hunting. Let's go hunting. So yeah, let's go GitHub and what have we got in the pub spec?
No. Linux should work.
Oh, I am totally wrong. Look at that. Look at that.
It's a first. Simon was wrong on the show. Oh my god!
Interesting though, it doesn't advertise that it supports these inside the documentation. So
It was added later. It was just added later. That's all.
So this is interesting. He's actually split out into the various ones. So this is nice. It doesn't actually specifically state that he's doing it, but yeah, this should just be broadcast networking.
Yeah.
Yeah. DNS device. Yeah.
It's just a protocol over UDP packets. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Really nice. Yeah.
So that'd be the discovery part. That'd be like how you'd find a peer that you might send something to. Then you'd want to set up some sort of like RTMP or something protocol, stream your video between the one and the other.
Yeah.
MJPEG.
That's the app. That's what you have to do. That's the job.
Spit JPEGs over the wire. Done.
Yeah. JPEGs. That's right. A really quick series of JPEGs.
What
Right.
all the webcams do, MJPEG.
Yeah. Okay, last question.
I want to apologize to Danny. He asked this at the beginning of the show.
Oh, yeah.
I'm having this weird issue in my Flutter app on iOS. When coming back from the background, often there are lots of icons and images missing. What kind of thing would cause that, and how can I fix it?
Turn off impeller. You're welcome. No, seriously. This is a known issue. So there's been a I mean, I would try it first, right? So is this is on Android, Danny? I'd be interested to know. But recently there was 4 or 5 issues being raised about rendering issues with Android impeller in some of the latest versions, 27 and 29 for sure. So you're probably experiencing some of those issues. So in which case, try turning off impeller. There's instructions on the documentation about how you do it. You put a little bit in your manifest file. I suspect that'll probably solve your problem. On the other hand, it could also just be a bug in your app and you're not loading them.
Yeah. Could be.
Well, and you do see where he specifies it's on iOS.
It can also still be on iOS though, right? It should still be an impeller on iOS. If anyone, but the key point here is if anyone is experiencing rendering issues on their device, I think it's Samsung devices specifically or some other particular vendor, yeah, try it out. Hopefully this will be fixed in the most recent version or in the next version after this.
Right. They've already cut a beta for 3.30 or whatever the next one is, so we just have to wait for them to publish it. So
when can I come back? Often there are lots of icons and images missing. What's causing this? How can I fix that? I mean,
icons and images. Weird.
Is it because you mean that they're being reloaded? Is that the issue? Or are they literally on the screen missing from the display? Perhaps you can elaborate, Danny, if you're still here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, hopefully. I mean, the thing is to be clear, and I think this is a tough one for people to understand. You on mobile, you do not own your application screen real estate, as it were, right? The operating system owns it. And what I mean by that is you background your app, your operating system will kill it at any time. If it's not in front of the user, the operating system will kill it if it wants to. And then when it comes back, now the user doesn't know it's been killed, doesn't know it's been terminated. It's still in their recent apps with an image of the application, right? And then when they come back to it, it reloads. And to the user, it just shows a splash screen. It just goes again. Most people don't even realize it's happened, right? Ideally, if you do the correct things with restorable state in Flutter and you deal with this properly, it should mean that when it comes back, you know what was there loaded, what screen they were on, what they were doing, and it will just pop back as it was. A lot of app developers don't do this, sadly. They just let the app restart from the beginning, let the user go back to where they were inside the app. But ideally, if you do restorable state, you'll get that you'll get that sort of nice thing. Is there a page on restoring state on
Yeah, there's state restoration. There's like a whole section on the.
Because I was the only one for a time that actually my talk on that was like the only bit of knowledge that was out there. I think restore state on Android. Yeah, there you go. State restoration. You know, I'll pop this in the chat. I mean, effectively, you get to do the same thing without Android, right? Like you can just say, let's say, I get a good example of this. You got a bottom nav on your app. You got what tab you're on. It's an integer number. What you can do is when the tab is changed, you save the integer to a file, right? To like a JSON file. And then when the app restarts, you read the file and you set that as the default tab. Now, when they launch the app, they're back to where they were. 2 easy steps. Done. There's no magical plugin or package or anything that you need to make that happen, right? And it works on all platforms. You're welcome.
Oh. Well, that was the last question. Do you want to start tackling some live coding? I'm drained, so I don't know how much longer.
I don't think we're going to have.
Yeah, we've been here an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, if we're all pooped, then maybe we call it a night.
We could spend the next 20 minutes arguing
Sure.
about the time zone we're going to lock to.
Oh yeah, we need to discuss that, don't we?
Or complaining about the format in 3.7.
Let's this year. Let's lock it to European time change.
What? No. Oh, I don't want to be up earlier.
It's American last year. I want my turn.
I don't care. It's late. Anyway.
He's like, it's only for me. Whatever you say.
That's it. We'll do Tokyo time.
I'll be only. I'll be only
an
hour next week. Then only be on the second hour next week.
All right.
To show that it's that early.
Let's wrap it up. Then. So, we'll post links on the social media for next week's show, and we'll work out when that is.
So you either come back in 166 hours or in 165 hours. We don't know. We don't know yet because we haven't decided because we're not that qualified. I'm just a quick plug since my face is on the screen,
Please.
so I'm allowed to do this. My Dart and Flutter channel has been a little bit idle. Sorry about that, but I am wrapping up now my best practices around exceptions talk. And that's going to turn into probably a couple of videos. And I hope to get at least one of those out this weekend. I will put the link for my YouTube channel in the chat here. That's me. So watch for that. I already put a 1-minute short out about it and got a lot of good feedback on that. But that there's 3 main categories: errors, exceptions, and other. And it's important to know that distinction as you're writing and capturing things. So this just takes that and keeps going on with it and tells you things like be sure you always capture the stack because you might want to use it in your traces, things like that. So yeah, cool stuff.
Nice.
Coming soon. Now I'm committed.
Anyone wants to plug?
What? Sorry?
Anyone else wants to plug while we're
Just
No.
Flutteristas conference on April 5th.
Yeah, Flutteristas conference, and also we've got the upcoming this year FlutterCon conferences. And if you're organizing a conference, let us know, and we'll happy to plug it on the channel.
I know what talk I'm going to pitch for New York, so that'll be fun. Yeah.
And nice to see you. All right, same time, same place next week. See you then. Bye.